Welcome to the Golden Nuggets.
This podcast is brought to you by Reka Studio. If you are struggling with creating content because you have no time, you don't know how to, and you are lacking of ideas, this is for you. For just $1, here's how Reka Studio can create 8 reels for you for 1 whole month. And the best part is, it'll only take 3 hours of your time. First, the Reka team researches your industry and creates a custom content guide, including everything from the best SEO keywords, top videos in your niche, and the best topics for you to speak on to connect with your audience. Secondly, we have a recording process that allows us to record high quality videos that looks professional, and it'll only take minutes to set up. Thirdly, our team handles all the editing, so each video holds your audience attention while still being authentic. Fourth, our team will schedule the post to your selected platforms on autopilot. And the best part is, all this for just $1 to get you started. We can only slot in 5 more clients, so visit tgnpodcast.com/Reka to find out more. Terms and conditions apply. Nuggets, back to the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Golden Nuggets podcast. My name is Nazreen INF Ami on my left, and today we have a special guest, someone related to our previous guest, Jade Puru. We have a wellness coach today. We brought to you Miss Divya. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and for that introduction. I am a wellness and self-worth coach for women, and I guide them to make informed decisions about their health.
Nice.
Okay, can you elaborate a bit more about what exactly do you do?
Yeah.
Okay, so I personally feel as a woman that there's not that much resources out there for us to feel empowered about our health.
Okay.
It's very confusing. The doctors say something, the health industry says something else.
Right.
And we truly do not get educated on our body and how it functions. And I'm going to be mentioning this word a lot probably, but the menstrual cycle plays a very important role in our lives. And I think the mainstream healthcare doesn't really address that in our overall well-being as much as they should.
Okay.
And the role of hormones and how it affects our mental health. And I really got into this after becoming a mom. Motherhood initiated my health journey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that I finally sort of understand what people mean by your purpose finds you.
Okay.
So yeah, my journey to becoming a wellness coach is truly it finding me.
I see.
Okay.
Okay. Can you share a little bit about your background? Like, how was it like growing up back then? I think you are Malaysian, right?
Yes, I'm Malaysian.
How is it growing up in Malaysia, and how do you think it would be different if you were to grow up here, and perhaps because now you are residing here and your daughter will be growing up here, how do you think it will differ?
I think in terms of health especially, there's a lot more awareness here. I was talking to a few friends just a few days ago, and they were talking about how they actually teach you sex ed and at the same time what to do when you get your period when you're as young as like 10 years old in school. So we were actually discussing our first period experiences. This is part of my program, my coaching program, and one of my participants, she is Singaporean. So she was talking about how she got her period at 10, but because in school they had taught her how to place the pad, they had talked about it, what can happen. She was very aware of what's happening with her body at that very young age, right? Because now girls are getting their periods a lot younger, earlier. Yeah. And I think from that standpoint, I'm quite happy to have my daughter possibly grow up here because at least there's not so much of a taboo around these topics, and they bring it up early on in school and they get to have that discussion with their friends, and maybe she can come to me and ask questions.
Right.
Because how I grew up and where I grew up. So I grew up in Kedah. It's a small town in Malaysia, and when I got my period, even talking about it was sort of not like an okay thing to
Okay.
discuss. Like
Really?
amongst girls, yeah, not too bad. But like to go up and ask your teacher questions and stuff like that, they would be like, oh, like they wouldn't be very open to conversation.
Even the female teachers.
Yeah.
What about your parents?
My parents, I would say, I don't remember my dad being a part of any of these
Okay,
kind
of
of
course, yeah.
conversations. But with my mom, I would say she could have been a little bit more detailed. I think I got it very young as well. I was 9, a
Wow.
child basically. And yeah, and she just told me this is something that's going to happen every month and you might have some discomfort and pain and all of that.
Okay.
But it didn't feel special. It felt like a bit of a burden rather
Okay.
than like something special happening. So part of what I do in my program is to flip that perspective. Instead of your period being an inconvenience, being something that you dread coming every month, because a lot of women suffer from cramps, they're not able to go to work or university or just feel their best when they're bleeding, right? So changing that narrative, you see, this is a gift. We have a superpower. We are creators. We bring life into the world. And we like kind of, we've been given this special responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And I want women to start viewing it as something special, something that can empower them instead of make them feel weak and miserable.
You mentioned about having your first period at 9, and I think it's kind of a norm nowadays for younger and younger girls to actually have that. What do you think is the reason why it is getting younger and younger?
I think it is because of our environment. It's because of the foods we're eating. Back then, the way our ancestors lived, even our parents, grandparents, they didn't eat a lot of processed food. It was not available.
Yeah.
They had a lot of real food with no artificial hormones or artificial colorings, or all these artificial foods mess up our internal, our gut health and our hormone health.
Okay.
And causes things to go haywire. And so we're getting periods at a much younger age. We're developing at a much younger age when we're not able to truly understand what's happening to our bodies.
Is it because of the growth hormones that is in the food that we eat? That's the reason why it's happening earlier and earlier.
I would say it's a bit more complicated than that.
Okay.
It's not specifically growth hormones. There are a lot of hormone disruptors. Hormone, what is the word? Like artificial hormones of the same hormones you have within your body. And so when you consume food like that, it disrupts certain functions in your body, or it causes it to go haywire.
Okay.
Even something as simple as sugar, if you overconsume, that's the cause of type 2 diabetes, which is an environmental epigenetic, right?
Yeah.
Environment and genetic caused lifestyle disease.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. And so back to the question about growing up in Malaysia. In terms of like school, how was it like back then for you? And perhaps like were you ever like have any issues like being bullied in school?
Yeah, I think primary school was really nice. I liked living in a small town in that sense because people are very simple and genuine. And then when I was 12, I moved to Kuala Lumpur, a big city.
Okay.
Well, not exactly Kuala Lumpur, a town called Subang Jaya that is
I've been there.
yeah, it's a pretty big township. I think now it's considered a city, but near close proximity to KL and like
Yeah.
So that was very different. It felt like there's a Malay sort of proverb, like, rusa masuk kampung sort of thing. Yeah.
I have no idea what is that.
You have no idea? Okay.
What does it mean?
So it means a deer entering like a village. So like something unfamiliar, right?
Okay.
You're 12 and then you move into like like in small town, nobody had handphones at my age. Everyone played outside. We were not really we didn't know anything about fashion or it was just chill, very cozy vibes. People are very real. Then you move to a big city and everyone's very different, right?
Okay.
And you are different and you don't know how to fit in. Like you have to change yourself to be accepted, sort of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, there were like many bouts of bullying. I think when I was in Form 2, I had a group of friends who were from different they were from different forms. That some of them were older. And one day they all just decided to stop talking to me.
Okay.
Boycott you?
Yeah, like completely. And I had no idea why. Like they don't sit down and talk and tell you, I don't like that you're doing this or that. But they're kids, right?
Yep. Yeah.
They themselves don't know how to deal with conflict the right way. Now that I think of it as an adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like overnight, they decided not to talk to me. And when I saw them and I said hi, they would ignore me.
Okay.
Really? Just walk away.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when that was the first sort of really bad experience of bullying that I had. And it took me a few months to find new friends. And I was always like in a book.
Okay.
My book was my friend at
Okay.
that point. I had one or two friends, but I couldn't find like that connection, that friendship that you, and it's also probably because I lost that sense of trust because I trusted this group of girls and yeah, they didn't like me very much after that.
Okay. Was there any reason why they didn't like you?
Do you investigate?
Yeah.
I mean, I tried talking to them, but no. But later on, when I became when I was in uni and college and stuff like that, if they'd see me outside, they'd talk to me like nothing ever happened, and they'd be like, "Oh, how are you?" And like they take interest in my life,
Yeah.
and like, and so that was really awkward, and also like, okay, but I like that you are trying to be an adult and not how to say perpetuate
Yeah.
childish behavior. And so some of us are kind of like acquaintances, friends. So like if I do see them, I will say hi, catch up with them and stuff now as an adult. And I do think that kids make a lot of mistakes. So
Right.
yeah, if
So you can forgive them and just let live.
I forgive the child version of them who decided to do this and not know any better. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. How do you cope being by yourself all the time?
Oh, at that point,
Yeah, at that point.
the book. I always had a book. I was always reading,
Okay.
even in class when I wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I was.
So I would say that you actually aced your exams.
I used to be a bit of a nerd, but I wouldn't say I aced my exams. I was the
Okay.
kind of person that if I liked a subject, I would give it all my attention. If I didn't like it, meh.
Okay. I
Yeah.
understand.
But my parents were not really pushy as well. They were not like, oh, you have to get like all A's or like really high marks.
That's an interesting perspective because that will only come from parents who do not believe in the education system and perhaps they have success in any other ways. What exactly does your parents do?
So my mom is a doctor.
Okay.
She has her own clinic. And my dad is a CEO for a property company.
Okay.
But he was previously a lawyer. Yeah.
Okay, that explains
Yeah.
Yeah.
their vision, the way they see, and they don't set expectations to you, to yourself.
Not really, but I was also the kind of child that you couldn't set expectations with.
Okay.
Because I've always sort of had a bit of a mind of my own, and the subjects that I was interested in were not offered in school.
Okay.
I liked like anthropology,
Okay. that's
social
interesting.
sciences, psychology from a very young age. I was interested in people, learning behaviors, and I could find all of that in books, which is why I was always in my books
Okay.
at that point. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting because that is basically what shaped you to be who you are and what you are doing right now.
Yes. Very much so.
Okay.
Wow.
And what do you study after your secondary school? Like
So-
for your degree?
This is going to blow your mind.
Okay.
I did finance.
Okay.
That's far off from psychology.
Any
Yeah.
reason? Do you love maths?
No.
Accounting.
I was relatively good at it, and
Okay.
my dad said this is like a stable, good degree to have
Uh-huh.
and to fall back on if you ever need it.
Mm.
And what you want to do after that,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you free reign, but please just do like a science or like a business
Okay.
degree. That was his one requirement, and at that point I was kind of confused.
Mm.
Like I didn't know what I wanted to be. It's such like a big responsibility to give like a 17-year-old kid
Yeah.
like decide what you want to do for the rest of your life, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think people talk about that enough because so many people I know, including my husband,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is gonna drop off.
Right, just adjust, yeah.
Yeah. Like we all end up doing something else from what like we started off with. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably part of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we shouldn't give that much pressure for people to have everything figured out at such a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever asked your dad like why it's a must to either do business or do a science?
Science degree. Yeah.
So number one, as Indians, usually there are only like a few pathways that are like,
Okay, I mean the stereotypical things like you be a
Stable.
lawyer or doctor.
yeah. I was actually okay with doing law. Like I was quite interested in law as well, and I was really good at law in my foundation.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, maybe law, maybe psych, and then he was just like, but these at that point, those careers were suffering in Malaysia in the
Okay.
sense that there were too many lawyers and
Yeah.
not many were getting hired,
Mm.
and psychology wasn't even a thing that people wanted to invest in back then.
Yes.
Now the climate has changed.
Yeah.
But back then, like 10 years ago, when I was choosing a degree, he was like, psychology, who's going to pay? You're going to end up in marketing or something anyways. And I was like, okay. And he was like, if you do finance, wherever you go, whatever you do, you need to understand money. You
Yeah.
need to understand financial structures. So it will be useful. And it is useful as an entrepreneur starting her own business.
Yeah.
But if you would have given me a choice, I would have definitely been probably happier doing like a psych degree or a social science degree, following my passion. And I may have gotten to that point earlier, meaning where I am now.
Okay.
It could have been a faster sort of track, you know.
But you won't know, right? Because it could be because of that program or that degree, you start to hate it.
Could have been as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew after I completed it that this is not what I want to do.
Okay.
At that point, startups were a big thing as well. I think all over the world, I think governments were investing in startups. There were startup hubs and a lot of these new companies that were doing funding and all of these like entrepreneurial things.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
VCs,
okay, yeah, VCs and all of that were very big. I mean, they're still big now, but at that point it was booming, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this
Okay.
because here I get to study people. I get to take on multiple roles and then maybe I'll kind of understand what I want to do with my life.
Okay.
Yeah. And the startup culture did lead me to where I am
Okay.
because I have only previously worked in startups. And it kind of inspired me to start my own thing.
Okay.
And when I started working, the number one thing that I invested in was traveling.
Okay.
Like anything I earned would just go to traveling.
Okay. At
And
that point of time, you were still single.
no, I was actually with my husband already.
Okay.
I mean, we were boyfriend,
Dated-
girlfriend.
dating
Okay,
lah.
okay.
We were dating. And he studied abroad.
Mm.
I studied locally. But I always wanted to go abroad. And my dad was like, okay, maybe for your master's. My dad's like, he loves his daughters and likes to keep them close.
Okay.
Okay. Do it
So-
locally lah.
Do it locally. And he was like, okay, 3 years probably not a good idea. But 1 year masters, okay, you can go. You know?
Okay, understand.
That kind of thing. As in, like, he wanted us to come back, or live close by. Yeah, but when I met like my husband and generally how he carried himself, the confidence he had, and I was like, okay, there's something about people who do study abroad, maybe that that confidence and all of that. And so I was very intrigued with how people are in different countries and how they operate, and how they have this like confidence to explore occupations that are outside the norm.
Yeah.
Because at that point, that's when YouTubers were coming out, content creators, starting new businesses that you'd never think of.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, okay, here people still are not, I mean, some are stepping outside of their comfort zone, but not everyone. Majority of us still want safe,
Yes.
the safe routes, right?
Yeah.
And then I met my husband's best friend's wife.
Okay.
And she's one of my closest friends now.
Okay.
She's a very inspirational woman. She started a women's network in London. Her name is Sonia Balo, if you want to look her up.
Okay. We will.
Yeah. And she, at that point, when I met her, she started a women's community in London. And it was all very fresh, and she was stepping out of her comfort zone as well. And so she was like, why don't you do something similar in Malaysia? She was like, you know, connecting with women and stuff like that. You are kind of lost and still searching for your thing, you know? I think connecting with other women may help. And she kind of inspired me to take that first step. And when I came back after that holiday, I started a women's network called Soul Sisters Network, Malaysia.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was running for, I think, up till I got pregnant. It was a non-profit. I didn't make anything out of it, but it was my side thing that I would do on weekends. And we'd have events once or twice a month, every month, where we'd get women together, and it would either be something related to personal growth or upskilling for their careers, or simply just getting together to talk about things that we don't usually feel safe talking about with people in our lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like a focus group, right?
More like a fun sort of networking.
Networking,
Like,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And it would be a lot of different people from different backgrounds coming together. Yeah.
Nice.
So your master's is also in finance.
I didn't do a master's.
Oh, you didn't do a master's.
What I did was I decided to become a wellness coach.
Okay.
And I've been investing in programs that are in sort of my field,
Niche.
my niche. Like now I'm currently in a program to become a certified health coach
Okay.
by Institute of Integrative Nutrition.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. And can you also maybe give us a because you mentioned about how you met your husband's best friend wife in London, right?
Yeah.
Like how did that journey actually came about if you did not do your masters overseas?
Oh, when I started earning, I started following my husband on his work trips.
Okay.
So, you know, free hotel, you just pay for everything else. And also I did, the first time I met Sonia was actually when I did a program abroad. I mean, I did a 6-week summer program in London
Okay.
with Imperial University.
Okay.
So that kind of gave me a taste of what it was like to do my master's abroad. And I was supposed to do my master's abroad, but the same time, instead of orientation, I was giving birth.
Okay.
I
Okay.
became pregnant. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I decided to postpone the master's journey, which was a good thing because it kind of cleared my vision and sort of gave me my purpose.
And based on your psychology and social sciences knowledge, why do you think the point that you brought up about how people who live abroad are actually different from people who are
I feel like when you are abroad, the one key thing I noticed is that you are exposed to different cultures and different ways of doing things.
Okay.
So you feel kind of inspired to take risks and to be different and to step out of what is normal. I kind of see that culture in Singapore because there's so many different people from so many different backgrounds here.
Right.
You get to meet all sorts of people. Not that you don't have that diversity in KL, but if you grow up in a place, it's very different from when you move and you live in a place and you have to get accustomed to people here. Whereas when you grow up somewhere, you grow up within a society, within a community.
Yeah.
And so you're rarely going to step outside of that because you have that comfort zone, the people you know, you've known for forever, you know.
Yeah.
Here, as an adult who's moved to Singapore, a new country, I would say that it is a new experience for me because before that, I've probably only been to Singapore twice on holiday for like short periods of time.
Yeah.
So here I am meeting a lot of different women and also entrepreneurs like yourself. And it is opening up my view of the world and shaping my beliefs and values of how I want to do business here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And based on that experience and that knowledge, you eventually decide to be a wellness coach, which is a niche and which is something very rare here in Singapore. Okay. I think that's a good segue to go to our second part where we'll discuss more about your journey as a wellness coach.
Okay, sure.
All right. So let's just cut this into part 2. Stay tuned, guys, and follow us in the Golden Nuggets.